This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Welcome, everyone, to the GSMC Sports Podcast, brought to you once again by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeff Malinoff, and with me once again is my adversary, my frenemy, Mark Souza.
What's up?
And we have a lot to talk about. I don't think we're going to get through everything that's happened this week. We might have to move it to tomorrow as well. Excuse me. But bottom line, we're talking about the big ones. The Lakers and Rockets fought in a very heated fight, mainly Rondo and Paul, with the appearance of Brandon Ingram, a surprise guest appearance by him. We also have the World Series to talk about because we do have two teams remain, and we'll see who wins in the 7-game series for the title. Then in the next segment, we'll talk about the Monday Night Football matchup that's happening tonight between the Falcons and the Giants. And in the fourth segment, we'll talk about any other things we need to talk about. Maybe
college football.
Ohio State being upset by number 2 is probably one of them.
Michigan.
Yeah, okay. We got a lot to talk about. So let's get into the fight first.
Yeah.
For those who didn't see it, which you probably did see it, Rajon Rondo spit in the face of point guard for the Rockets, Chris Paul, which led to punches being thrown, and it just got really out of hand from there. Brandon Ingram threw some punches. Paul threw some punches, and Rondo threw some punches. It got out of hand really fast.
Yeah, you could say that. Pretty
No, it did. You can't just say it. It did.
Pretty aggressive for the second game of each team's respective season.
Rondo likes to stir things up. We can't deny that.
It was LeBron's Lakers home debut, which will be remembered, of course, for the fight that happened, of course, like you mentioned, between Rondo and Paul. I think it got started with Ingram. Ingram started the whole pushing. After a foul, there's some words, a war of words happened, but Rondo and Chris Paul kind of get into it. We see Chris Paul react, pushing Rondo in the face, kind of jabbing him with his hand, not really a punch, but just a push into his face. And then you see Rondo swing at Paul, land a punch. You see Paul swing back, land a punch or two. So, very interesting to see what went down there. Then we learned after the fact that Chris Paul said that he had been spit on. And it looks like after review, after we've seen a few different camera angles and it broken down, he did in fact, Rajon Rondo did in fact spit on Chris Paul, and the league actually has acknowledged that. They put out a statement regarding all three players. All three players have been suspended. So Brandon Ingram has been suspended 4 games, Rondo 3 games, Chris Paul 2 games. And in the statement, the NBA did say that they acknowledged that Rajon Rondo did spit in Chris Paul's face and also threw a couple punches at him. So I kind of have an issue with this. How does Rondo not get the most games of all parties considered when he really started it? Yes, Brandon Ingram pushed a player and threw a punch, but
Rondo escalated.
Rondo spit in someone's face, and if nobody got spit on, that never happens. He spit in a man's face and threw 2 punches.
I'm pretty sure he threw the first. Maybe Paul did after.
Paul pushed him in his face. So
yeah, it wasn't really a punch, and then Rondo went for a punch.
Yes.
So Rondo is all in the wrong here. We could agree on.
Which is mind-boggling because he
Rondo
should
is a
have
powder
got the.
keg, though. We can agree on that.
Yeah.
He likes to stir things up. And
Well, Chris Paul's known for being that way too. Chris Paul, I mean, like,
I don't
honestly,
think to that extent.
if we're being honest, like Chris Paul's regarded as a jerk in the NBA, and Rondo is kind of the same way too. But the fact
Rondo's
is,
more of a jerk to his teammates than Paul is to his teammates, I guess you can say.
Well-
Paul is a jerk to the opponents most of the time.
yeah, definitely. But Rondo likes to mix it up. He's he's been known to be a little bit of a dirty player too. It goes back to his college days. But regardless, I just don't understand
No
if you're
Vontae's
the
perfect, but great.
yeah. I don't understand if you're the NBA how you don't suspend Rondo for the most out of all three players and 3 games for spitting on somebody and throwing 2 punches. That seems like very minor.
Well, we can compare actually. Like so, Vontae's perfect earlier this week was also just going into this try to relate this topic was fined over $100,000 for his targeting hits of the last couple of weeks, which is rightfully so. And comparing that to a game suspension for Rondo, that's chump change. Like if Rondo was suspended, the games he's losing money in these 3 games compared to like the money he would lose, that's probably like what, $20,000?
It depends on his contract, but Chris Paul for sure is losing the most money out of all 3 players.
And it's only 2 games.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's because his contract is so much higher than both of their contracts that
Well,
he's
Brandon
losing.
Ingram's still on a rookie deal, correct?
Yes, and Chris Paul's losing two game checks on a max deal, so he's losing quite a bit more money actually.
Well, he can gain that all back. I don't think.
Yeah,
He's
well,
matters.
and that's also something that his coach Mike D'Antoni did talk about. He said that he's like, I understand the whole suspending people thing, but if you look at it monetarily speaking, Chris Paul is the one that loses the most out of all this, which is a different argument in itself. But my whole gripe with this situation is how the NBA admits that Rondo spit on someone, which obviously led to the brawl, if you want to call it a brawl, whatever.
It was the field of the fire.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, were they pushing? Were they getting hostile? Yeah, but then someone spit in someone's face like that.
That's just gross.
That's, I mean, it's
That's
definitely
not sanitary.
disgusting. And I thought Paul.
You know, if someone spit in my face, I probably want to.
The funny thing is too is I hate defending Chris Paul here because I know that he's kind of a jerk. Like he gets under people's he gets under people's skin. He wears that, you know. But the whole thing is that he pushed Rondo in the face, which I think is very minor response for getting spit on in your face. You know what I mean? Like I actually think that holds some restraint there because he could have just cocked back and swung on him. You know,
lines were definitely crossed. Like keep your bodily fluids to yourself, people. Just a nice warning. And overall, that has no place on the basketball court. I'm sorry, it has no place in any scenario, to be honest.
Yeah, so I mean, we take a look at the Lakers now. So they're going to be without Ingram and Rondo,
Rondo is one thing, but Ingram's going to be huge. Like that's a whole.
Ingram is a bigger piece for them because he's like Rondo. They can replace Rondo with Alonzo Ball.
Rondo had like 11 points, 13 assists before being ejected. And so, all things considered, he's always been known as like a high assist guy, but when it comes to points, he's lackluster at best.
Plus, they have Lonzo Ball, and they're like basically the same type of player. They're both passing point guards who don't really shoot very well.
Maybe this is Ball's chance to get back on the starting lineup and stay there. Who knows?
Yep.
Maybe he has to get like 26 assists or something.
Yep. So this fight overshadowed the game, but the Lakers are now 0-2. They've struggled in their first 2 games. Of course, they have LeBron James. I think that they'll be fine. They'll figure it out. But it has looked a little rough early for them. They built a team that was with the mindset that they were going to be different than the other teams that they were competing against, that they weren't going to be a 3-point shooting team, I guess, like a lot of the teams are in the NBA today. But with that being said, I think you could tell in this game against the Rockets that they missed 3-point shooting. The Rockets shoot 38% from 3 on 16 of 42. The Lakers go 8 of 32 from 3, which is 25%, which is definitely not good. The Rockets shot at a normal rate for them. So I'll ask you this. What we've seen from the Lakers through 2 games, minus the fighting and all that, but just their play on the court, are you worried about how quickly this thing can gel, or if this plan that they have will actually work in the Western Conference?
Well, I wouldn't. It's the first 2 games of the season, so I'm not gonna say abort mission. Everyone go overboard type of thing.
Yeah, you're not going to make any sweeping generalizations after 2 games.
But I would definitely have it in the back of my head, like maybe we're not as good as we think we are.
Yeah,
Like look at the Thunder, for example. Like Russell Westbrook just came back in return, and they lost the Sacramento Kings by 11 points.
yeah, but we know what the Thunder are. Like they didn't really lose any big pieces. Now, I think they'll be fine. The Lakers are basically a brand new basketball team. Like they retained a lot of their young talent, but I mean they have LeBron James, Rajon Rondo, Lance Stevenson. Like there's a lot of different people. JaVale McGee. So the point is that
I feel like McGee just follows where talented players go.
Yeah.
Does it not feel like that?
How great he gets to play for the Warriors, and then he gets to go play with LeBron. So how great for him.
He's still known as the Shaq and a legend, so he's never gonna let that.
You want to know what's funny? The guy who led the Lakers in 3-point shooting on Saturday night was Lonzo Ball. Believe it or
I
not.
thought you were about to say JaVale McGee. I'm like, that's not true.
Lonzo was 4 of 8 from downtown, which is really good for him because we know he doesn't shoot that shot very well, but he had a good game Saturday in that regard. So do you think that this style of play, though, will actually beat these teams like the Rockets, like the Warriors? I mean, they're trying to be like this, get to the line, get in the lane. And I mean, I get it. It makes sense. But at some point, don't you think you're going to have to shoot? Like, there are going to be days where Steph Curry and Kevin Durant are just nailing everything from the outside, and you have to have some sort of response, in my opinion.
Yeah, I do agree with that on the fact that there's but that's where I'm getting a little iffy because it's still really early in the season. It's still a brand new season. So you can't really make any assumptions for any team right now.
So in the first game of the season for the Lakers, since they are 0-2, they played Portland and they lost by 9. In that game as well, they shot 23% from 3 on 30 attempts, and the Blazers had 37 attempts. They made 13 of them at a 35% rate. So the two things, the thing that we've seen in both of the Lakers' losses is their inability to match their opponent's three-point shooting, and when they're losing by about 10 points or less in each of those games, it's easy to kind of point and see, okay, there's the difference. Because you look at the other numbers, field goal percentage, rebounding and assists, it's pretty close, but it's that one stat that sticks out like a sore thumb, and it just makes you wonder if the Lakers will have enough shooting to, be a playoff seed, a high playoff seed. I think most people think they'll make the playoffs, but if they want to make noise in the West, if they want to do more than just make the playoffs, I don't know. They might need to make another trade. We'll see.
Yeah, there is a lot of questions still remaining for that team, and I think we already have do you still think the Warriors are gonna that's still claimed as the first seed? That's still 1 seed. I think I'm agreeing with that too.
I know they just lost to the Nuggets last night, but I have no worries with the Warriors. They will be just fine.
Yeah, that block at that buzzer was a pretty clutch play, by the Denver Nuggets center. But overall, I'm just saying that we're 2 to 3 games, not even 3 games into the season, and there's already speculation of how this season's going to go. I think that's just premature, don't you think?
Yeah, no, but I mean, I understand what you're saying, but the worry for the Lakers looks like it's already happening. Like, it's one thing to say, oh, I don't know how this team is going to gel together, but it's another thing to say, can this team shoot a 3-pointer well enough to win? And we already knew that they would struggle there before the season started, and they have been struggling through 2 games. So tonight they actually play the San Antonio Spurs. They are hosting the Spurs, who are 1-1. It'll be interesting to see if the Lakers can get back on track and win their first game of the season, and see if they might be able to improve on that 3-point shooting.
Well, yeah, I think that's their key to really improving is the 3-point shooting, because there's a lot of guys you see in those games, like the run goes 0 for 4, they're 1 for 5, or 2 for... Like, you don't see guys going 6 for 8 or 7 for 10.
Exactly.
Like, you don't see, like, Warrior... I guess you can say Warrior-like numbers. And you need that in the NBA now. The NBA is now like a three-point shooting league. You need three-point shooting to win.
And that's why, some people were critical of the Warriors, saying, yes, they added LeBron, they added some other players, but they are severely lacking in this very important category. So
absolutely.
So yeah, we'll see what happens. I think we should take a break and come back. And when we come back, we'll talk about the World Series preview. We'll talk about who's playing and how they got there. In case you haven't been up to date, there were a lot of things that happened in sports this weekend. But if you missed out, or if you're looking to see who's playing in the World Series and what to expect, then stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We just finished talking about the NBA, mostly the Lakers and Rockets fight that happened. But now we're moving on to the Mecca when it comes to baseball. It is the end of October, and that means the World Series is happening. Game 1 starts tomorrow. Red Sox and Dodgers at Fenway in Boston. Should we just go right into our predictions, or how do you want to proceed?
No, let's. So last time that we were here, we knew the Red Sox were in, so they're playing the Dodgers. Why don't we talk about how the Dodgers got there?
Well, they won a Game 7 against the Brewers in pretty handily fashion, actually.
Yeah,
which was
on the
kind of
road.
Surprising, all things considered.
Mm-hmm.
If I felt like this could be a close game, but man, the Dodgers was just on a roll really early and just didn't let up. And I mean, the Brewers had no answer.
Yeah, the Dodgers. I mean, it was a really close game, but they blew that thing open in the 6th. I mean, Yasiel Puig gets that home run. It changes the game. So the Dodgers will represent the National League in a very good series. I think that series lived up to the hype in terms of it went to 7 games, whereas on the other side, the Red Sox just completely took care of the Astros. I think you'd probably agree with me. I think the Red Sox handling the Astros was very impressive, even for how good of a season the Red Sox have had. They seem to not be that competitive. But this series, the Dodgers and the Brewers, definitely was. I was a little surprised to see the Dodgers win Game 7. I did think they would win the series, but it was something that I was concerned about. I thought Game 7, the Brewers would have the advantage. Then they score early, so I'm thinking, Dodgers are in trouble, but they actually weren't. They kept it in the game. They scored 2 runs quickly in the top half of the second. I thought Walker Buehler was great. I was a little worried because he's a young pitcher. In Game 7, you never know. He handled himself
very well.
Yeah,
you never know what you're going to get. 7, like usually Game 7 that gets in your head. It didn't look like it got to his head at all. He kept a good focus throughout his entire pitching game.
Yeah.
Wow, pitching game. That sounded professional. His entire, what would you call it, a run? Would you call it a... Yeah, whatever.
So I did think the Dodgers were going to win this series, but I was concerned about Game 7 when I knew that Walker Buehler was a pitcher, and here's why. He's a very talented kid. He has a lot of good pitches, very solid pitcher who's got a great future. However, In his previous playoff starts, he seemed to be overthrowing a lot. He was a little wild. He would throw a little high, a little wide, just because it seemed like he was a little too amped up. And so I'm thinking, if he's already amped up in these games that matter, how amped up will he be? Will he be able to control those emotions in a Game 7 on the road? And I thought, no, he wouldn't.
No way, impossible.
Because of the evidence that I had seen,
Yeah.
So, but no, he was fantastic. The Dodgers go back to the World Series. This is 2 years in a row. Of course, we remember they lost in heartbreaking fashion to the Astros last year. So, Jeff, what do you see from this series? Maybe we should go into the pitching matchup. It looks like Sale's pitching Game 1 for the Red Sox. We don't know who's pitching for the Dodgers yet, but...
Should we talk about the NLCS and ALCS MVPs?
Compare
them, I guess.
Yeah, go ahead and tell us who they were.
Well, the NLCS MVP was Cody Bellinger for Los Angeles, who was a rookie last year. So going from a rookie to an NLCS MVP is pretty darn impressive, if you ask me.
That's interesting because he was having a rough postseason.
Yeah, and then he just came alive. That's the beauty of baseball, right there. Is
so he's the youngest person ever to win MVP.
I don't
a postseason youngest person to ever win youngest position player. Sorry, to ever win.
Okay, that one.
MVP.
I'm pretty sure there's been guys younger than him that have won it. And for the ALCS, it was Jakey Bradley Jr.
Bradley, yeah.
Did I say Jakey? I meant
yeah.
Jackie. Sorry.
He just had those big hits, right? Like he hit like 200 in the series, but he had 9 RBIs.
It was that one big
grand slam.
Yeah, it was that one grand slam that really put him over the top.
That's
Honestly,
incredible, though. 9 RBIs. That's pretty good.
Well, 4 of them counted in one hit. So
still good.
I mean, so 5 RBIs.
Even 5 would be good.
Yeah, but I say minus that grand slam and put the rest of his games and impress the rest of his performances, I don't see him as the MVP. I think that grand slam put him over the top.
Who would you have taken?
That is it. Man, I might...
Because if you're going to say he doesn't deserve it, you have to tell me somebody who does, right?
Call me crazy on this. David Price.
Crazy.
David Price. He had a great last game. He had a great clutch win game.
If he would have had 2 good games...
He had a pretty good first game.
So here's
all
the
things
thing.
Considered.
Here's the thing with that. Don't you kind of think that the series was too short for a pitcher to win MVP of that series?
Yeah, but how Price played it in that Game 5 really showed...
Very good.
Yeah.
Extremely impressive.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, maybe he could have gotten it, but I understand the grand slam put him over the top, which is totally fine.
It's just hard to give the MVP award to a pitcher when it goes 5 games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm just saying that could have been a possibility. That was probably considered.
Yeah,
these.
because unfortunately for a pitcher, like if let's say David Price won Game 6 or Game 7 in that impressive fashion, then he probably does get it. But it's Game 5. It's not an elimination game. A little less pressure, but still. Man, he had a great performance, and if he does that again, I don't think this World Series is going to be much of a competitive matchup.
Yes, definitely. But we got to look at Game 1, which is happening tomorrow night. Mm-hmm. Chris Sale has been named the starting pitcher, even with his
He's back. He's healthy, they say.
With his illness that he had that took him in the hospital, which I'm glad he's
That was
better.
probably like, a week ago now, so...
Hey, coming out of the hospital, it's not like... Especially it was a stomach virus, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's not easy
But with the Red Sox winning the series easily, it afforded him the opportunity to not have to really stress during that.
Yeah.
He didn't have to pitch again.
It's not easy to get over that. Not in a week, that's still difficult.
So do you think that he'll be affected, or do you think it'll be something that's past him?
They wouldn't put him in Game 1 unless they saw him pitch like in practice or something and do bullpen or something and say, okay, that's not affecting him. He's ready to go.
I'm sure he'll be fine. I mean, we're talking about these teams, these franchises that get the best medical care. Of course, I bet you, like when we get sick and we're just dying in bed with our Gatorade bottle and stuff, like that's one thing. But these guys are like, they're getting pumped with fluids. They're getting all the treatment, man. So
they're pretty fun for right now.
They're at home though. It's gonna be that probably helps too that he's at home. He doesn't have to travel.
Yeah, I think that plays a big factor.
He doesn't have to fly across the country.
The Dodgers have yet to announce any pitcher right now. Who do you think is gonna pitch for them?
God, that's a hard question. I don't think. I mean, it could be Kershaw, right?
I feel like that's too early because he pitched Game 6.
He did.
So that was what, a couple of days ago?
No, Game 5.
Game 5?
Yeah, he pitched it's going to be Kershaw. He pitched on Thursday. No, excuse me. He pitched on Wednesday the 17th. Kershaw will be your Game 1
Why
starter.
does it feel like it's been way earlier than that?
Yeah, it does feel like that.
It feels like it's earlier.
Maybe because it felt like Game 5, Game 6, and Game 7 all kind of happened really quickly, but there was a day in between.
Yeah.
It has to be him.
Do you know when the last time these two faced each other in a World Series was? Give me a year.
The Dodgers were definitely Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
I
Yes, they
don't
were.
know.
Yes,
Like,
they were.
I
They
know-
weren't okay. They weren't even called the Dodgers. I'll say that.
Oh, well, then probably like 1917.
Wow, 1916.
Really?
Yeah, the Red Sox defeated the Brooklyn Robins in 5 games.
Well, I kind of take that as I got it right, even though I got it wrong. That was
No,
pretty
you got
close.
it wrong. You got it wrong. Yeah.
I think I had like probably a 1 in 60
Why does it feel like
chance.
these teams played each other in the World Series more than like never, basically? Like,
Well-
I wouldn't count the Brooklyn Robins as the LA Dodgers.
The
franchise.
Robins, that's a great name.
Maybe that's where Batman got his sidekick from.
Was that like when all these teams started getting like bird names for their, like the Cardinals, Blue Jays? It's a lot of birds, I feel
I'm
like.
pretty darn positive the Toronto Blue Jays were not a team back in 1960.
Or the Orioles.
That I'm not. Maybe the St. Louis Cardinals for another city. Maybe, I don't know, but maybe not that way.
So this is the first time in 101 years, is what you're saying?
Well, you can say 102. 1916.
Oh, no, you said, I think you said 17.
I
I
said
said
19.
17.
You said 17.
102, you're right. My bad. I was still claiming that win.
Surrounded
So.
by idiots.
So Kershaw, Sale. Let's assume that Kershaw's Game 1 pitcher. Then who's Game 2? Ryu?
Mm-hmm.
And then Bueller or
Yeah, I go Bueller. I don't know. I don't. They can really pick anybody.
yeah, I mean Rich Hill. Maybe Rich Hill starts Game 1. That's actually interesting. I think Rich Hill's starting Game 1. I think the Dodgers go Hill, Kershaw. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah,
Hill, Kershaw, Ryu, Bueller, or
I'll say Bueller Game 2, Ryu Game 3.
Bueller just pitched though.
Yeah, but it's the World Series.
Okay.
I'm saying Kershaw.
So you got Kershaw over Hill Game 1?
Kershaw Game 1, Bueller Game 2, Ryu Game 3.
I don't know. Okay, so let's break it down.
Oh, it could be Ryu Game 2 and Bueller Game 3.
I don't know. I think Rich Hill's going to pitch Game 1 or Game 2.
Ryu kind of has been struggling.
But
That's
Rich Hill,
why-
you can't forget about Rich Hill. He's going to pitch Game 1 or Game 2.
True. But would you like save him for like a Game 4 just in case it's a must-win game?
No, I'm pitching my best 2 pitchers in the first 2 games, and hopefully I get a split. So, who do you like between? Let's just assume that it's.
Well, I got Red Sox winning this series.
Okay, how many games?
I'm going to say 5.
5 games. Wow. So that you think they'll do what what they did against the Astros?
They are
Just dismantling
They're
them.
just the best team in baseball. Can you deny how good they are?
I mean, I think our opinions of this playoffs were the same in the regard that I think we both thought whoever won the AL
was going to win
was
the World Series.
gonna cakewalk because
Not a
that-
cakewalk, but they'll win
that
the World
was-
Series.
I don't know, man, because I don't know if you. I think you agreed with me, but the Red Sox, Astros, I think were just so much better than the Brewers and Dodgers. Like, it didn't matter.
I agreed with that.
It didn't
but
matter who won each one. Like, it's going to be the AL.
But the thing is, there's been situations where one team just looks superior than the other, and the other team upsets.
Do you think that the Dodgers? We talk about momentum all the time. Do you think because they won in 7 games that they will have the momentum heading into this series?
Well, they could have won it before 7. If they were came back and then won Game 7.
So, do
came
they have
down.
momentum, or do you think the Red Sox will have the momentum of just dismantling
After the
another
performance
team?
from David Price, I think the Red Sox have the better momentum and confidence going into this game than the Red Sox.
Do you think
Than the
having a
Dodgers
couple
do,
extra
excuse
days
me.
off will take some of that steam away for the Red Sox? Like, it might help the Dodgers since they've been playing more consistently as of late.
Well, there's only one way to find out. watch
We will
game
find
one.
out tomorrow night.
Yes, we will. But I do
Live
think,
at Fenway Park in Boston, Massachusetts.
I do think that the Red Sox are going to at least take game one with Chris Sale.
And you know what's funny? You asked me why they didn't play tonight because we thought that they might play tonight. But it makes sense, Jeff. You know why?
Why?
Because the NFL is on tonight. Why would they want to compete head to head? The World Series will get their own day tomorrow night. So I think that's a perfect segue as we take a break and come back and talk about that Monday Night Football game.
You know they can't see your hand reactions, right? They can't see your movements.
They can't see my energy?
No, they can't.
Well, I drank some coffee.
Dude, he's dancing oddly. It's kind of weird.
Hopefully my energy is reflected in my voice, but sometimes I know that can get drowned out a little bit, so I'll work on it.
All right. Well, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Monday Night Football matchup that's
Eli.
happening. You're still interrupting me. Yes. The Monday Night Football matchup between the Falcons
Matt Ryan.
Shut up. Between the Falcons and the Giants. And we'll be going into more detail, and we'll get right on that when we return.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We just finished talking about the World Series preview between the Red Sox and the Dodgers. Now we're going on to the Monday Night Football matchup that's happening tonight between the Atlanta Falcons and the New York Giants. Two teams that are not doing so hot right now.
Don't you think they should have flexed this game out?
Yeah, they were flexing the Rams and 49ers out of Sunday Night Football. And
I know they don't flex Monday night.
In on paper, it was a smart choice to put the Chiefs and Bengals on Sunday night because they two were top teams in their divisions, respectively.
Yeah, I mean, it made sense when you look at the numbers.
And then it showed that the Bengals are out of their element when it comes to facing contenders.
Primetime football games for the Bengals is not good for them.
Yeah. Anyways, do you wanted to ask a question?
Yes. Here's a trivia question for you, Jeff. I know you like trivia.
I love trivia.
I know you like sports history.
That's my favorite topic.
Okay, so I've been saving this one for you. Okay,
saving it.
Okay, there are 3 quarterbacks in NFL history to have beaten all teams.
I know this answer already. Everyone knows
one
this
just
answer.
happened yesterday.
Can I just say them?
Who was the one that happened yesterday?
Drew Brees.
And who are the other 2?
Brett Favre and Peyton Manning.
Good job, Jeff. You got it.
Well, because everyone and their mother has been talking about it.
You know what? I heard this question on the radio this weekend because they were saying if Brees wins, then he'll be the 3rd one. And somebody called in, and they were like, Tom Brady, he's only played for one team. You have to play for 2 teams to beat every NFL team.
Yes, that's it.
So I was like, and the host made the guy feel really dumb. And I was like,
good, because you should know he's never beaten the Patriots in his career.
Because the host said, and I quote, when did Tom Brady beat the Patriots? I was like, touche.
So would Tom Brady just leave the Patriots for one season, one game?
I think he should and play for an AFC East team so he gets 2 cracks at him.
And
play for like the Bills.
And then if they win, he just retires right there on the spot.
Play for the Bills.
I don't think that record is that important.
No, it's just funny. It just speaks more to. I mean, it does mean that you're a good quarterback and you've won a lot of games, but it also means that you played for more than one team as well.
Let's just say he's beaten the Chargers and I'm Drew Brees. I'm saying is beating the Chargers, beating the Saints when he was a Charger and a Saint. So it just
another
makes
record
sense.
for Drew Brees. Just
Brett
picking
Favre,
off Peyton Manning
Brett
left
Favre
and right.
didn't have that record until like 2009 or 2008 when he was a Jet and a Viking.
I hope that the next Peyton Manning commercial that he makes, where he's like the one he did to Drew Brees, where he congratulated him. I hope
Which
the next
one? Yeah.
I hope the next one he's like he mentions like, "Yo, Brett Favre, you can keep your interceptions record. Like, I don't want that one." You know, I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's a good one, Brett. You know, good job."
He's gonna. Do you think Brees is gonna break the touchdown record?
Yeah, he's pretty close, right?
Yeah, but is this his last season? Is he playing another season? He's playing.
How many is he off?
I believe he's off by.
How about this?
Okay.
Let's start the preview for tonight's game, and I'll research that for you.
No, I'm doing it right now. Hold on.
You're doing it right now?
Doing it right now.
Okay, so how about I present tonight's matchup? How about that?
Sure, go for it.
So we have the New York Football Giants, who are led by
Okay, got it.
Peyton's brother Eli. Go ahead, Jeff. Jump in real quick.
He has 501, correct?
Yes.
It's 539, so he's 38 touchdowns away.
He will break it. He
Okay.
will break it next season.
Okay. Anyways, we're gonna move on. I have some stats here if you want to listen to them.
All
Hold
right,
on.
before you bring in those
sound
stats-
No, about the Monday Night Football game.
Yeah, before you bring those in.
Okay.
Eli
I got
Manning.
Dunder Mifflin paper to talk about
Dunder
it.
Mifflin. All right. Eli Manning and the New York Giants. They need to win badly. I could see this
Cream
game.
letter stock.
I mean, I don't think anybody's getting fired, but it is one of those things where if you're the New York Giants, the New York media market, it's a little bit tougher for coaches there to get a little bit longer of a leash. And we know, even though he's in his first season, we know it could go wrong for the Giants. They need to win tonight on national TV, but the Falcons at 2-4 need one just as bad. One of these teams is done today for sure. I mean, the Giants are probably done no matter what, but I think whoever loses is definitely not making the playoffs. What do you think?
Both are not making the playoffs. That's my bold prediction.
But if one did, they would need to win this game, and it'd probably be the Falcons, right?
Well, one has 2 wins, the other has 1 win. So, yes, statistically and actually speaking, if Falcons win, they have a minuscule chance to make the minuscule.
Is that like surgery?
I think I just had a stroke. Sorry. But
Like a small surgery?
apparently I just does
a mini-scopal?
I'm minuscule. Get it right, first of all. Get my strokes right if you're gonna quote that.
All right. Keep
Anyways,
going.
can I finish?
You sure can,
And
bud.
they have a very small, tiny chance of making the playoffs. But if the Giants win, I still don't see them making the playoffs. So
Playoffs?
Falcons. Don't interrupt me. Falcons have a small chance. I feel like Giants have no chance.
Playoffs? You talking about?
All right, going off my paper I'm holding by Dunder Mifflin. It's their cream letter stock.
Go ahead.
I've been binge watching that recently. Sorry, but the Falcons and Giants. One is 8th in total offense. One is 23rd in total offense. What do you think is? Who do you think is 8th?
I mean,
Are you serious or no?
I mean, the Giants have been putting up a lot of numbers.
It's the Falcons.
But,
You
yeah,
shouldn't even consider.
but I'm not saying that it's not the Falcons, but I am surprised that the Giants are so low.
Well, when looking at points per game, the Falcons have 27.8, and the
Right.
Giants have 19.5.
Falcons score a lot, they give up a lot. Yep.
Guess who? All right, who gives up the most points allowed per game? This is an interesting
Falcons.
one. Yes,
For sure, Falcons.
32 points a game.
They
but
got
the Giants give up 27 points a game.
Differently,
and
though.
The Falcons
Differently.
The Falcons 32 points allowed per game is the second most in the NFL right now.
Behind Tampa Bay?
Yes.
Yeah. So the Falcons defense and the Giants defense, I think, are bad for 2 different reasons. The Giants defense is bad because I think their offense is so bad. Their offense is always giving the ball back, whether it's a turnover or a punt. Whereas the Falcons, they just have had so many injuries and they score a lot of points that teams are just playing them in a track meet. But that's not really the case for the Giants games. They're not really playing in track meets. Their bad offense is just reflective on their defensive stats.
Like you're looking at their offense, like they do 329 passing yards a game.
For Which team?
Oh, I'm sorry. The Falcons have 329 passing yards a game to the Giants 286, which is not bad either. But when you look at their rushing yards, it's a completely different story.
Saquon.
Falcons 86 yards a game, Giants 87 yards a game. So even Barkley is not averaging the best. But when they get on their defensive side, they're giving up over 120 yards to get both a game.
The funny thing is that Barkley's doing it by himself, and the Falcons have had 3 players contribute to that total.
Well, Devontae Freeman's on the injured reserve, which
Sure.
is a huge blow. But their defense is what's really going to play a factor in this, because both defenses are inadequate at best.
So look for a shootout tonight is what you're saying.
The Falcons are ranked 29th in total defense, and the Giants are surprisingly ranked 15th in total defense, but they still give up over 120 yards rushing a game.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was mentioning earlier. If the Giants' offense would just help them out a little bit more with sustaining drives, scoring points, not turning the ball over, not punting as much, then maybe that defense looks a little bit better, because being in the middle of the pack on defense when Eli Manning is your quarterback on offense is actually, I think, pretty impressive. I mean, we see, look at teams who have bad quarterback play. Their defenses usually do terribly. I'll give you a good example. Are you ready for this, Jeff?
I'm ready.
The Jacksonville Jaguars. They've had terrible quarterback play the last 2 weeks. And what's happened?
If you want us to hear talk about them, go tune in our football podcast later, because I have some words about that one.
But they have a very good defense. But when your defense is on the field consistently and your offense is putting you in terrible positions, you're going to give up yards and points. That's just the fact of the matter. So
you're going to get tired. You're going to get exhausted. You're going to get fatigued.
You can have a great defense, but if your offense is not helping you out, is making you defend short fields and not scoring points, it'll be a struggle no matter who you are. So
I'm going to put it this way. If you have to put in Cody Kessler as your quarterback and that boosts your team up a little bit, that's saying something.
Yeah, the Jags are a mess, but again, like Jeff said, check out our football podcast. It'll actually be out right after this one here today, and we will be talking about all the games in full detail as we do every Monday. We break down what went well, what went wrong, what to expect moving forward. But back to tonight's game, Giants and Eagles. Where do you kind of see this game going tonight? Do you think that it will be as high scoring as
you
people
said Giants
expect?
and Eagles, by the way.
Giants and Falcons. Different bird. My bad. Wrong
Giants
bird.
and insert bird here.
Wrong bird. Giants and Falcons.
Sorry, I had to call you out on that. You called me out on Minnesota.
Yeah. So
Anyways,
what do you see happening?
So I see a minuscule chance of a good game here.
A minuscule chance.
Minuscule chance.
Mhm.
That's my new phrase. Quoted Jeff Malinoff, trademark, 2018. But okay, on a serious note, I think it's just who has the better offense in this game, and I think it's the Falcons, and I think it's going to be Matt Ryan taking control of this game and giving the win for the Falcons.
Okay, but do you think it'll be a high scoring game?
Oh yeah.
So give me a score prediction.
Give me 32-27.
32. That's an interesting score to 27 for the Falcons.
Yeah. Honestly, can we get any score right? I just went with the most odd score possible.
Oh no, my picks were good this week, but I think that you're taking the Falcons.
You can get 32.
You're taking the Falcons. I think the easy way out for me is to take the Falcons, but I'm going to take a bold step.
I didn't take the easy way. I took the most logical way.
Yeah, I mean, they're the home team. They're playing a 1-5 team. I will say the Giants are going to win this game. I don't feel confident at all saying that.
You laughed as soon as you said that.
The
I don't.
Giants are going to win.
Do you want to say just be the opposite of me so we don't agree on this?
Yeah, because I can't lose to you in our weekly picks, so I'll just take the L here. I don't care. But if I win, then I'm going for glory, right? So give me the Giants to beat the Falcons 38-34. 38-34 for the...
How are they going to get there? Well, I guess how are they going to get 32?
I'll be honest with you. I think the Falcons will most likely win this football game, but this game should be high scoring. I would be surprised if the over-under doesn't hit 60 points. I'd be surprised.
Yeah, I would be actually really surprised also.
I think Odell, I think Julio, like if you're playing fantasy football or if you care about stats, this is a game where those guys are going to get big numbers in my opinion.
They should. They should. Keyword should.
I would say that there's probably going to be over 900 yards of total offense here with, 8-9 touchdowns scored tonight. So we'll see.
All right. Anything else about this game you want to talk about?
The only thing I'd like to mention is I am excited to see Barkley just because he gets to play on that turf, and the Falcons' pass defense is the worst in the NFL at stopping opposing running backs. They give
That's
up
such an exact stat.
They are the worst team in the NFL at giving up yards to running backs out of the backfield through the passing game. And Barkley is a guy that we both know. If you give him some space, he'll make one guy miss. If there's not another guy around, then he's taking it to the house.
Well, let me ask you, do you hate those stats when they go, in the month of October, no one has won this team has won a game with under 30 degrees with the cheerleaders wearing this certain outfit? Because did you see a stat that happened that I saw the other day during the Sunday games? Kirk Cousins, they put a stat about him. The team is 2-0 when Kirk Cousins gives a pregame speech. That's a stat that I saw. They put that up there.
I have a serious question.
Yeah.
He's only give 2 pregame speeches, and he's a starting quarterback in the NFL?
Well, sometimes like the main defensive player or something like that.
Right, but he's a quarterback of
I'm sorry,
70 football games?
No, for the Vikings.
Oh, for the Vikings, but still, he doesn't give a speech.
It said the Vikings are 2-0 when he gives a pregame speech.
That's
Who is
dumb.
keeping those statistics?
You.
But no, apparently someone on the Sunday football.
Yeah, but when you're out in public, if you go to Starbucks today or something, and somebody's like, "Hey, want to hear a random stat?" You'll be like, "Yes, I do, but can I tell you one first?" And then you'll say that one.
Well, no, I'll say in the month of October, right before Halloween, the Giants are 4-2 when Saquon Barkley wakes up on this side of the bed.
Which side is that?
The left side.
Any other news and notes and stats for this game that you want to throw out before we take a quick break and come back?
No, this game's going to be just two bad teams facing each other. I mean, what else you got to talk about?
I think it should be exciting, though. We like points, right? We want to see a shootout. That's what we want to see. All right.
Well, we're probably going to get that. But we're going to take a short break.
Come back.
When we come back, we will be talking about
the weekend in college football.
Oh, I gave you a perfect leeway. There you go.
We'll talk about Harbaugh and Michigan.
We'll talk about Ohio State. Jinx, you owe me a soda. No, you can't talk down. You owe me a soda. You got to go buy me a soda real quick.
And we will talk about other notable games that may or may not affect the standings. And we're going to have my buddy Jeff Malinoff. He's going to look up the new rankings. So we can tell everybody where everybody falls now.
Couldn't do that yourself?
We're going to see how I delegated that. We're going to tell everybody where everyone stands now.
And now Mark is going to jump off the roof and do a double backflip, and I'll watch.
I'm pretty sure I know the rankings for the top 7 or 8, but I don't. It gets real. I don't know where Ohio State fell. I'll be completely honest with you.
Well, I do, and it's a doozy. It's a big drop.
I think that we'll tell you. Well, I'll give you my prediction.
Get you right back right after this. Stay tuned, folks.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We talked about the fight in the Lakers and Rockets game. We talked about the World Series matchup that's happening as soon as it starts tomorrow for Game 1. We've talked about the Monday Night Football matchup between the Falcons and the New York Giants. Now, we're moving on to the college football world. I think the one thing we need to talk about mainly is Purdue upsetting Ohio State, very convincingly, in fact, and a very emotional story for a young man who has fighting cancer, went to the game as a diehard Purdue Boilermaker fan, and this is the game they upset the number 2 team in the nation. It's a pretty incredible feat.
Yeah, I don't. It's hard to talk about this game as much as I want to when you talk about something way more important like that. Like that's it's awesome.
But he
it's
wants
always
us to talk
awesome
about
when teams or when franchises really give back like that, when they really reach out to somebody who's struggling. Medically speaking, so
and Purdue really stepped up their game. They won 49-20, a 29-point blowout of the number 2 team in the nation, former number 2 team in the nation. They have dropped considerably. It's one of the biggest blowouts I've ever seen It's a 3-3 team facing a 7-0 team, and the 3-3 team 29-point blowout. That's incredible.
They say in college football that depending on when you lose and who you lose to matters, but this is about as bad as a loss as you can have in college football, in my opinion. When you're that highly ranked and you lose, like you said, by 4 touchdowns to an unranked team, I don't care if it's on the road. That's 4 touchdowns. Like that, you got blown out.
And this really showed in the AP ranking coming into this.
Don't tell me what it is yet.
Okay.
But let's talk about some of the other games before we jump into the rankings, just so we can kind of lay out the land there. So Michigan and Michigan State, that they have this storied rivalry. And before the game, there was a war of words.
Michigan player stomping on the logo of Michigan State. Did he get injured?
Like right away, like first quarter.
That's karma.
So ugly football game. It wasn't pretty. I mean, if you're a fan of defense, if you're a fan of low scoring, then you loved every minute of it.
Michigan held on to against the 4-2, now 4-3 Michigan State Spartans 21-7. Moving
not a college football score, right? You see that in the NFL sometimes, 21-7, but that's a real low college.
This kind of shows the rivalry and how much
many stats.
Yeah. But
do you see the total yards for Michigan State? Wasn't it like 100 yards?
It was something very small like that. Yes, it was.
So big statement.
Yes, it was a big statement. But we also had some big upsets this week. Not just the Ohio State losing number 2. We also had Washington State handily defeating the Oregon Ducks.
That was very interesting. College game day was there, so the Washington State fans were all riled up for it.
Yeah, they won pretty handily, 34-20 in a well, it feels like it's more than 14 because the score really shows it feels like it's more than 14. But it was a 14-point victory for Washington State.
The Cougs are back.
Yes, I
guess. Can you name a quarterback from Washington State that played in the NFL?
Ryan Leaf. Is that who you're trying to name?
Can you name another one? But yeah, you're right.
Ryan Leaf is the only one I can really think of.
Drew Bledsoe.
That's right. Oh my God, they had 2 guys at the top picks in the draft. Huh? Yeah, I forgot about. He was like what, 95, 96?
90.
Because
he played in the Super Bowl
97.
Right?
No, it was 97. 94 was the Niners and Chargers.
96.
94 season was the Chargers.
Yeah, 95, 96 was
97. Then Super Bowl 30.
When Favre won.
31.
When Favre won, yeah. So he was, a rookie, 95 or 96?
Yeah, so it was his second year in the league.
That's an impressive win, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
It definitely puts a chink in the armor for Justin Herbert, the consensus number 1 quarterback coming out.
Temple also beating Cincinnati, the number 20 team in the nation, 24-17. That was a pretty interesting game.
Mm-hmm. We saw Oklahoma and Alabama take care of business.
Yes, they did.
Clemson beat NC State badly. Number 3 Clemson beat number 16 State 41-7. That was an interesting game.
So now could we go on to the rankings?
Ooh, yeah. I'd like to guess.
All right. Do you want to just guess 1 through, let's say, 15? Because that's where the changes are the most.
I mean, I think it's Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, LSU for the first 4.
Did you look at them?
No.
Be honest.
No, I'm serious. But that was the top 5. Ohio
Alabama,
State
Clemson, Notre Dame, LSU are the top 4 teams.
I was concerned that LSU would jump Notre Dame because Notre Dame didn't play, but
Notre Dame's still undefeated.
But that was the top 5 going into last week. I didn't look, but it was kind of obvious.
In the power rankings right now, or in the AP rankings, there's only 4 teams that are undefeated, and one of them is UCF, and they haven't moved.
So I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea from 6 through whatever. I have no idea. So 6.
So 5 to
Oklahoma's got to be like 7, right?
They are number 8. I'll just go in order. How about that?
So who's after LSU?
Who's number 5? I'll just go who's number 5 and going on from there.
God, I can't remember the rankings from 6 to 10 last week.
Good. Who's
I
number
don't
5?
know. Go ahead.
Michigan is number 5.
Okay, that makes sense.
Who is number 6?
Hold on. Let me see who played real quick. Number 6, you say?
Mm-hmm. I swear to God, if you're looking, let me see your phone
No,
right now.
I'm not. I'm
Show me the
looking
screen.
at the scores.
Okay.
I'm just
Okay.
looking at the scores.
Okay.
Number 7, you say?
No, I said number 6.
Number 6, Texas.
Yes.
Because they were number 9 last week and they didn't lose.
And number 7?
You said Oklahoma was 8?
Yes.
Okay, so who? I don't know who.
Georgia is number 7.
Okay.
I'm just going to name them all.
And then Oklahoma.
Yes. Number 9 is Florida.
Okay.
Number 10 is UCF.
So Florida came back.
Yeah.
Okay.
UCF is number 10. They have not moved in
They're
weeks.
not going to move.
I feel like it's a little unfair to.
They
do
might
that
get
to
up
them.
to 6 or 7, but they're not getting in the college football playoff.
Well, they're one of the 4 teams only in the league in the top 25 that's undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how that goes. Number 11, Ohio State is now. You looked at it.
No,
Why do you know this?
because you said all the teams, and I thought Ohio State was going to be one of them. So
well,
they
what
had
if
to
they
be
were like
somewhere.
20?
They wouldn't go from 2 to 20,
I know. Okay, number 11 is Ohio State.
which isn't far enough, in my opinion.
That's almost 10 spots.
Yeah, but they got blown out by 4 touchdowns by an unranked team.
They're probably still better than Kentucky.
You're right, but it's a meritocracy.
Number 12 is Kentucky, who is a surprising turn of events in this top 25, in my opinion.
You don't usually see them in the top 15.
West Virginia, at a point, were favorites to go into the top 4 in the playoffs, and now are number 13. Washington State have moved from 25 to 14 after the
They
victory
might move
over
up
Oregon.
again, too. You know why?
Why?
Because they play 24 ranked Stanford this week, which is a good chance for them to actually jump in the top 10.
If they win.
Well, I'll tell you right now.
Washington State is 14. Washington is 15.
So let me stop you for a minute.
No.
Iowa. There's some notable games this week. Iowa and Penn State play each other this week. 18 Iowa, 17 Penn State. That's kind of an elimination game for me. Like one of them, whoever loses has no chance of making the playoff. Whoever wins,
Neither of them have a chance of making the playoffs.
No, they could. They could do
the
it.
5-2 Penn State.
They could win. They could win the conference. So they could win.
Yeah,
their
they
conference.
can't go into the college football playoff.
They'd have to beat Michigan.
Yeah, but then they're not going in the top 4. I don't care what you say.
I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. There will be teams that will lose it.
A team from 17 goes in the top 4. You're out of your mind.
Not in one game, but over the course of the next 5 weeks.
No, that's too tall of an order.
All right, so we saw Florida. Florida's at number 9. Where were they at 2 weeks ago? I don't even think they were in the top 25. Were they?
Pretty sure they were just at the bottom of it.
Well, anyways, Florida plays Georgia this week. Number 9 versus number 7. So one of them will lose.
You know who's a very interesting sight to see in the top 25 is number 25, Appalachian State.
What?
They are in the top 25.
Remember that one day when they beat
in
Michigan?
2007, yeah.
What was the quarterback's name?
They are... What? I don't know.
The quarterback in that game, and then he played in the NFL, and they tried to...
Chad Henne?
No, for Appalachian State.
Oh, I have no idea.
And they tried to convert him to like a wide receiver. He became famous for that game.
What, Terrell Pryor?
No.
Who? I have no idea.
Was it,
he played for Ohio State, I think.
God, who was it? I'll figure this out. Anyways, college football, interesting week, but yeah, I can't believe we saw Ohio State lose. What's your impression of that? I mean, what's your, what do you think about that?
I definitely put it as...
None of us saw that coming.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. None of us saw that coming. But overall, this changes all the course of the whole rankings.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Harbaugh wins and Urban Meyer loses. Great weekend for if you're a Harbaugh fan or a Michigan fan. You see Ohio State lose and you beat your hated enemy, Michigan State. That's pretty cool for them. So last thing in the world of sports that I'd like to talk about, Le'Veon Bell did not report today. Did you like how I segued that? Because Le'Veon Bell, former Michigan State Spartan. Haha. Anyways, Le'Veon Bell didn't report. Are you surprised?
No.
We'll see when he does. He should be back this week or next week at the latest. Anything else you want to talk about, Jeff, before we leave?
I'm trying to find the Appalachian State quarterback from 2007 that you're talking about that tried to move to whatever his reaction was.
You're trying to find out who it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. God, what was that kid's name? I mean, he's not a kid any longer, but you know what I mean. That was a Chad Henne was the quarterback
For Michigan, that's
It
why
was
I said Chad
Armani
Henne.
Edwards.
Yeah, because I know who.
Armani
I know.
Edwards.
I remember Armani Edwards. No one remembers that. No offense.
He became a name and then he was drafted. Yes.
Because he got drafted, late 7th round?
And then they try to move him at quarterback. But anyways, we need to they try to move him from quarterback to wide receiver. He plays for the Toronto Argonauts, by the way. Anyways,
As of right now?
anything else you want to say?
No, that should do it. That should be our show for this week, for this episode,
today.
for today, not this week, for
Jesus.
today. Please tune us in tomorrow.
Or Jeff won't have a stroke on air.
Well, I won't have a stroke on air, and as well as we'll recap Monday Night Football. We'll also maybe
break
go
down all the for sports. I mean, yeah, we'll talk about basketball too. We'll talk about
absolutely.
basketball.
But we'll get everything you need in the sports fix tomorrow. We will see you then.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.